Picture this. You're dropped deep into Alaska's backcountry, the kind of place where the ridgelines scrape the clouds and the wind howls through endless miles of spruce and tundra. Out here, everything's raw and wild. You can feel it in your bones, the kind of isolation that makes every sound matter. Because somewhere in that endless green, 1,000-pound brown bear could step out of the brush at a dead run. And in that moment, the rifle you picked back at camp isn't about filling the freezer anymore. It's about getting home alive. Alaskan hunters don't chase trends. They don't buy into marketing hype or internet debates. They trust what's been proven. Through decades of hard use, the cartridges that stopped charges, fed families, and built legends across the North. When you're hunting where the weather freezes your fingers, your rifle's coated in wet snow, and the nearest help is a bush plane away, there's no margin for guesswork. You pick the caliber that's earned respect the hard way. The question every hunter faces up here is brutal and simple. What makes a caliber trustworthy in bear country? Is it sheer horsepower? Pinpoint accuracy? Across a windswept valley? Or knowing that even when the temperature plummets and your hands are shaking, that round will still hit hard, cycle clean, and stop what's coming? The right cartridge walks that fine line, enough power to anchor a charging bear, but still light enough to carry for days through punishing terrain. Step inside any Alaskan gun shop and stare at those boxes lined up under fluorescent light. Forget the flashy marketing and perfect ballistics charts. The real answer lies in the cartridges that Alaskans keep buying year after year, the ones that didn't just look good on paper, but saved real people when the hunt turned bad. So, let's talk about the 5 rifle calibers that Alaskans trust with their lives. The ones that define survival in one of the harshest landscapes on Earth. Let's start with a name every northern guide knows. The .338 Winchester Magnum. Ask any veteran hunter from Kodiak to the Brooks Range what cartridge they'd trust for nearly anything Alaska can throw at them, and this one rises to the top every time. It's the definition of versatility. Most hunters push bullets between 200 and 250 grains, but factory loads stretch all the way from a light 185 to a thundering 300 grains. That spread gives it serious range. Lighter loads fly fast and flat for caribou or open tundra moose. Heavy loads dig deep for thick-boned bears that demand absolute penetration. Across a windswept valley or a glacier flat, it carries the energy to put a big bull down clean and up close. It smashes through hide, bone, and muscle with authority. Now, no one's pretending it's a soft shooter. It barks back with purpose, but compared to the true heavy rifles, the .458 and the big African Magnums, it's manageable. You can shoot it accurately. You can train with it. You can rely on it when everything's on the line. That's why Alaskan guides keep calling it the all-around caliber for big game. Winchester knew exactly what they were doing when they chambered their Model 70 in it, and they didn't even hide the intent. They called it the Model 70 Alaskan. That rifle and that cartridge built their reputation the old-fashioned way through blood, cold, and distance. If someone told me I could only take one rifle into bear country, the .338 Winchester Magnum would be near the top of the list. It's earned that right. But if you think that's the upper limit of what Alaska demands, wait till you hear about the one that defined dangerous game long before anyone ever heard of the Winchester Magnums. Step aside for a moment from modern ballistics charts and sleek polymer stocks. Let's talk about a cartridge that's more legend than metal. The .375 Holland & Holland Magnum. Some rounds earn their respect through hype. This one earned it through history, a century of stopping charges that could end men's lives. Born over 100 years ago in the workshops of London, this cartridge became the global yardstick for dangerous game performance. And when the conversation shifts north to Alaska, it never leaves the table. Because this isn't a deer round or a weekend hunter's toy. It's built for the kind of animals that can hit back. Bullet weights for the .375 stretch from a manageable 235 grains all the way up to 300, and that 300 grain load is the one Alaskan guides trust when it's time to bet their lives. Thick hide, dense muscle, heavy bone. It doesn't just break through. it plows through. What makes it remarkable isn't just its brute power, but its flexibility. Sure, it's a stopper up close, but in the hands of someone who's trained, it's got reach. With the right bullet and steady breathing, it can place a clean, ethical shot past 300 yards, something most people don't expect from a so-called dangerous game round. That's why the .375 sits in a rare class. It's a round that handles both ends of the Alaskan spectrum. The up-close bear charge in thick brush and the long-range moose standing broadside across a valley. Ask any old-timer who's seen it in action, and they'll tell you 100 years later, it still hasn't given hunters a reason to doubt it. Now, let's jump forward to a more modern powerhouse, the .300 Winchester Magnum. It's the cartridge of open tundra, of long shots across frozen valleys where the wind never stops moving. Ask any hunter who works the wide open country what they want in a rifle, and you'll hear the same three words: reach, precision, authority. The .300 Win Mag delivers all three. Most hunters run it between 150 and 180 grains. But it's flexible. It can go as light as 110 or past 200 grains if your rifle's tuned for it. That's the beauty, adaptability. Where it truly shines is distance. Across those glacier valleys, where the shot might not be 50 yards but 300 or more, this round stays flat, fast, and predictable. With good optics and the right bullet, it hits with surgical precision at ranges where lesser calibers start to wobble. But here's the kicker: it doesn't punish you like the heavier magnums. It bridges the gap between long-range finesse and the muscle you need when things get ugly. If a bear appears out of nowhere while you're glassing for caribou, you've still got enough stopping power to handle business. That's why so many Alaskans say if they could only take one rifle north, the .300 Winchester Magnum would probably be the one. It's earned its trust the hard way, season after season, mile after mile. But Alaska isn't always about long shots. Sometimes it's about the kind of encounters that happen too fast to think. You turn, and the only thing between you and 2,000 pounds of bad intentions is a lever gun and a cartridge born before the telephone became common. That's where the .45-70 government steps in, a cartridge forged in the 1870s and still riding strong in the 21st century. Modern ammo keeps it alive and lethal. Bullet weights range from 250 to 500 grains, but Alaskans usually lean on the 325 and 405 grain loads when they need real stopping authority. This isn't a cartridge built for open country. Its range is short, 150, maybe 200 yards on the generous side, but that's exactly where it shines. Thick alder brush, tangled timber, the kind of country where visibility is measured in feet, not yards. When a brown bear charges through that kind of terrain, there's no time for a rangefinder or dialing turrets. You need a rifle that comes up fast, cycles instantly, and hits like a freight train. That's why the .45-70 keeps finding its way into guide scabbards year after year. At 20 yards, that massive slug doesn't just stop the threat, it ends it instantly. And when you're living or guiding in bear country, that kind of certainty is priceless. But Alaska's story isn't written by the big boars alone. There's one more chapter, one more cartridge that's been quietly filling freezers and saving hunts for over a century. Every hunter who's ever walked the northern timber knows this one by name, the .30-06 Springfield. If the .338 Winchester Magnum is the muscle and the .45-70 is the hammer, then the .30-06 is the heart. It's the round that built America's hunting heritage and still holds its ground in the unforgiving terrain of Alaska. Over a century of service, and it's still out there filling tags from the Kenai Peninsula to the Brooks Range. It's not hype, it's history. And that matters in a place where everything you carry has to earn its keep. The .30-06 covers an incredible range. Load it with a 110 grain bullet, and it's a flat shooting rifle for deer or caribou. Step up to a 150, and you've got a solid all-rounder for open country. Push it to 180 or even a 220 grain slug, and suddenly you're standing in the same league as the Magnums, capable of taking moose, bear, or elk cleanly without a flinch of hesitation. Does it have the same brute stopping power as the .375 Holland & Holland or the .338 Winchester Magnum? No. But that's the point. It's easier to control, easier to shoot accurately. And when the pressure's on, when your heart's pounding, and your gloves are soaked, accuracy beats raw recoil every single. The 30-06 doesn't punish you for training, and that's what makes it deadly in the right hands. You can shoot it more, master it faster, and put every round exactly where it needs to go. That kind of confidence is priceless when you're hunting in conditions where mistakes can cost lives. Then there's the practical side, ammo. In Alaska, reliability isn't just about performance, it's about availability. From Anchorage gun counters to the tiniest hardware stores tucked along the Yukon, you'll find boxes of 30-06 sitting right there on the shelf. Because even if the bush plane drops you in the middle of nowhere, odds are someone nearby is running the same caliber. That shared trust keeps the round alive. Ask any guide who's seen more seasons than they can count, and you'll hear it straight. The 30-06 may not be flashy, but it works. It's the everyman's rifle for a land that doesn't care how much your optic costs or what logo's on your scope cover.